Have you ever wondered why, despite all your spiritual practices and prayers, true transformation still feels just beyond your reach? What if everything you've been taught about connecting with the divine has been fundamentally misunderstood? Throughout history, spiritual seekers have climbed mountains, built temples, and performed countless rituals, all in pursuit of something they believed was separate from themselves. Has this ever happened to you? That feeling of reaching, stretching, and straining toward a divine presence that somehow always seems just out of grasp. This endless seeking may be the very thing blocking your spiritual breakthrough. When Jesus uttered those two simple words, "I am," he wasn't merely identifying himself. He was revealing the most profound spiritual truth ever spoken, a truth so revolutionary that it has the power to dissolve every problem you're facing right now without any effort on your part. These two words contain the entire secret of spiritual power, healing, and abundance. Most of us have completely misunderstood this teaching. We've been conditioned to believe that God is something outside ourselves, a separate entity we must petition through prayer, meditation, and good works. We've created elaborate systems of approaching this distant deity, hoping to receive blessings, healing, and abundance. But what if this fundamental assumption is exactly what's keeping you trapped in limitation? The revelation that transformed Joel Goldsmith's life and the lives of thousands of his students is this: God isn't something you reach for, God is the very I that you are. This isn't blasphemy, it's the direct teaching of Jesus himself. When he said, "I and the Father are one," he wasn't claiming a special status available only to him. He was declaring a universal truth about your identity, about the nature of consciousness itself. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching. From today, it's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Stay with me until the end, because this understanding changes everything, not by giving you new techniques or practices, but by awakening you to what has always been true about your being. This isn't about becoming more spiritual or achieving a higher state. It's about recognizing that the I that you are is already the complete expression of infinite spirit. What you're about to discover might surprise you, especially if you've spent years trying to connect with a God you believed was separate from yourself. The truth is both simpler and more profound than most spiritual teachings have led you to believe. When Jesus turned water into wine, healed the sick, and even raised the dead, he wasn't accessing some special power unavailable to you. He was simply living from a consciousness that knew itself as the I am. If these teachings on the I Am resonate with you, join our spiritual community by hitting subscribe. Together, we're exploring the depths of consciousness and awakening to our true identity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this profound revelation. When Joel Goldsmith speaks about the I Am, he's pointing to something far more significant than most people realize. This isn't merely a philosophical concept. It's the hidden truth at the core of your being. The I Am isn't a statement about your human self, your personality, your history, or your current circumstances. It's the infinite presence expressing as you right now. Think about the revolutionary impact this understanding can have on your journey. When you say I am with spiritual awareness, you're not speaking as a limited person struggling through life. You're speaking as consciousness itself. The same consciousness that has existed before time and will continue beyond it. This distinction isn't just semantic, it's the cornerstone of genuine spiritual transformation. But here's where most of us make a critical mistake in our mindset. We constantly misuse these powerful words. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself throughout the day. I am sick. I am broke. I am afraid. I am not good enough. With each declaration, you're making a profound decision about your identity. Every time you attach I am to a condition or limitation, you're giving power to illusion and identifying the infinite with the finite. This might be the most important revelation you encounter on your spiritual path. You're essentially claiming that God, the I of your being, is limited by temporary circumstances. This misidentification is the root cause of all suffering, not what happens to you externally, but what you claim I am is. Consider how this understanding changes everything. The circumstances of your life aren't random events happening to a separate person. They're experiences flowing through the one consciousness that you are. When you begin to recognize this truth, you initiate a profound inner transformation that naturally alters your outer experience. Joel discovered through decades of spiritual practice and healing work that our problems persist, not because they're so powerful, but because we've been mistakenly identifying with them. When you say, I am in pain, you've bound the infinite to a temporary condition. When you say, I am struggling financially, you've limited the expression of abundant life that is your true nature. The ancient wisdom traditions all point to this same understanding, though it's often veiled in symbolic language. The journey isn't about becoming something new. It's about revealing what has always been true beneath the layers of false identity. As you shed these misidentifications, you naturally align with the unlimited expression of being. If you're sensing a resonance with these ideas, if something within you is recognizing a truth beyond intellectual understanding, write in the comments, I am awakening to truth. Now let's examine how this principle transforms our approach to everyday challenges. Look at the powerful revelation in how Jesus himself used these words. Have you noticed that in all the gospel accounts, Jesus never once said, I am sick or I am lacking? This wasn't coincidental. It was a deliberate demonstration of spiritual mastery. Instead, he made declarations like, I am the resurrection, I am the light, I am the way. Each statement was a conscious identification with the infinite, not with temporary conditions or circumstances. This pattern reveals a profound blueprint for our own spiritual journey. When you align your I am statements only with eternal truths, your entire experience naturally begins to mirror that consciousness. This isn't positive thinking or wishful affirmation. It's the operation of spiritual law. The vibration of your being shifts when you claim your true identity rather than falsely identifying with limitations. Here's a behind-the-scenes revelation that few spiritual teachers fully explain. The I am isn't something you need to create, develop, or achieve through years of practice. It already is the foundation of your being. You don't become the I am through meditation, good works, or spiritual achievement. You simply stop identifying with what you are not. The process is one of unveiling rather than becoming. This shift in understanding completely transforms your approach to challenges. Every problem you're experiencing exists not because you've failed to reach some spiritual height, but because you've momentarily forgotten that the I that you are is God expressing. Not something that will be or can become in the future, but what already is in this eternal moment. The mindset revolution here is subtle but profound. Most spiritual paths emphasize becoming something better, higher, or more evolved. But the I pathway Joel Goldsmith discovered through deep contemplation was not about addition, but subtraction, removing the false identifications that obscure your true nature. Think about how this impacts your daily decisions. When faced with illness, financial challenges, or relationship difficulties, the automatic response is usually to see yourself as a person with problems needing solutions. But from the I am perspective, you recognize these as temporary appearances in consciousness, not the truth of your being. This isn't denial, it's seeing from a higher dimension of awareness. The secret to Jesus' healing work wasn't that he had special powers unavailable to you. His mastery came from his unwavering consciousness of what I am truly means. When he healed the sick, multiplied loaves and fishes, or calmed the storm, he wasn't manipulating matter through mystical forces. He was simply being the I am, allowing the infinite to express through him without resistance or misidentification. You've likely experienced glimpses of this truth in moments of deep peace or clarity, times when your sense of separate self temporarily dissolved and you felt connected to something vast and perfect. These weren't just pleasant spiritual experiences. They were momentary recognitions of your true identity as the I am. If you've had such an experience where you felt completely at peace despite challenging external circumstances, type in the comments, "I've tasted the I am." Let's continue exploring how this understanding transforms our approach to healing. Let's apply this understanding to one of life's most challenging experiences, illness. When you're facing a health crisis, the natural human reaction is to say, "I am sick and I need healing." But notice what happens in that statement. You've identified your essential self with the condition. You've claimed sickness as your identity. This seemingly innocent declaration actually denies the deepest truth of your being. Here's the revolutionary perspective Joel Goldsmith discovered through working with thousands of healing cases. The I that you are cannot be sick, because that I is infinite spirit. The body may indeed show symptoms, pain, fever, dysfunction, but that's not the I. Those symptoms are appearing in your experience, but they don't define your essential nature. The I am is perfect, whole, complete, and always has been. This isn't a mind game or wishful thinking. It's a profound shift in identification that affects your entire being. When you rest in this knowing, not fighting symptoms or desperately seeking cures, but simply recognizing what you truly are, healing often happens naturally. It's not that you're denying the appearance, you're simply refusing to identify with it. I want to share a breakthrough insight that transformed my understanding of spiritual practice. Most teachings throughout history have given us something to do. Visualize white light, repeat affirmations, manifest through mental imagery, perform rituals. The spiritual journey becomes an endless series of techniques and practices. But Jesus revealed something far more powerful than any technique, a state of being. The I am is not an action, it's a recognition. When this understanding dawns within you, something remarkable happens. You stop trying to get things from God through prayer or meditation, and you start realizing that God is already the substance of your being, expressing as your experience. The shift is from doing to being, from seeking to finding, from becoming to recognizing. Think about the immense freedom this brings to your spiritual journey. No more endless striving to become worthy of divine blessings. No more complex practices to attract what you need. No more feeling that enlightenment is far away in some distant future. Instead, there's a deep rest in the recognition of what already is, the perfect, complete I am expressing as you. This transition from spiritual doing to spiritual being represents the most significant paradigm shift in consciousness. It's like a person who has been swimming frantically against the current, suddenly realizing they can simply float, allowing the river to carry them effortlessly. The effort wasn't helping, it was hindering the natural flow. When health challenges appear in your experience, the tendency is to battle them through willpower, treatments, and desperate prayers. But what if the most powerful response isn't fighting at all? What if true healing comes from simply recognizing your unalterable perfection as the I am, not denying symptoms need attention, but refusing to identify with them as your essential self? If you've experienced a moment where simply letting go and recognizing your true nature brought unexpected healing or resolution to a problem, share in the comments. Surrender brought my breakthrough. Let's explore how this principle fundamentally transforms our understanding of healing itself. This revelation completely transforms our understanding of what healing actually is. We've been taught that healing means changing conditions, fixing what's broken, eliminating symptoms, or restoring what was lost. But Joel Goldsmith discovered a profound truth through working with thousands of cases. Healing isn't about changing conditions at all. It's about changing identity. When you truly know yourself as the I am, conditions have no choice but to align with that truth. This isn't magical thinking. It's the natural law of consciousness expressing. You don't heal the body. You recognize that the I of your being was never sick in the first place. You don't create abundance. You recognize that the I am is infinite supply already expressing. The shift is from trying to fix what seems broken to recognizing the unbroken reality that lies beneath appearances. This breakthrough understanding completely rewrites the spiritual journey. The transformation isn't in changing outer conditions, but in recognizing the unchangeable truth of your being. Everything in your experience is a reflection of your consciousness, not what you're thinking about, but what you're identifying as. When identification shifts, experience must follow. Let me share a powerful real-world revelation from Joel's practice. A woman named Margaret had suffered with debilitating chronic pain for 7 years. Doctors found no medical explanation despite countless tests and treatments. She'd tried everything: medication, therapy, alternative treatments, spiritual healing. Nothing worked. When she finally came to Joel, she was desperate and had nearly lost all hope. What Joel did next reveals the essence of spiritual healing. He didn't pray for her. He didn't treat her condition. He simply asked her one penetrating question: who is the I that says I am in pain? Margaret was initially confused by this approach. She answered, I'm the one suffering. But Joel pressed deeper. Is the I am you speak of capable of pain? Can infinite spirit hurt? Can God suffer? She sat in silence for nearly 20 minutes, contemplating this question. Then something profound shifted in her consciousness. She realized she'd been identifying her true self, the I am, with a body and its sensations. In that moment of clarity, she saw that the pain didn't belong to the I that she was. It belonged to a false sense of identity she had been maintaining. Subscribe to continue this journey of spiritual discovery with us. Each video unveils another dimension of the I am consciousness that transforms how you experience every aspect of life. This wasn't just an intellectual understanding, it was a fundamental shift in consciousness. Within 3 months, the pain that had dominated her life for 7 years completely vanished. Not because she fought it or found some miracle cure, but because she stopped claiming it as her identity. The healing came not through changing the condition, but through changing identification. The mindset revolution here is that we've been approaching healing backward. We've been trying to manipulate effects while ignoring the cause. We've been fighting symptoms while reinforcing the very identification that produces them. When Margaret stopped saying, I am in pain, and recognized the truth, that the I am she truly was could never experience pain, the false condition had no choice but to dissolve. If this approach to healing resonates with you on a deeper level than traditional methods, type in the comments, identity precedes healing. Let's explore how this same principle transforms our relationship with abundance and financial challenges. The principle of I am consciousness works just as powerfully in the material world as it does with health. Consider the story of Robert, a businessman who was facing complete financial collapse. His company was on the edge of bankruptcy, drowning in debt, watching everything he'd built over decades crumble before his eyes. Every morning, he'd wake up with the same devastating thought: I am failing, I am losing everything. His prayers reflected this consciousness. Desperate pleas for God to rescue his business, to send customers, to provide some external miracle. This approach kept him locked in a mindset of lack, reinforcing the very limitation he was trying to overcome. Then Robert encountered Joel's teaching about the I am. In a profound moment of revelation, he realized he'd been claiming lack and failure as his identity. He'd been saying, "I am broke," instead of recognizing that the I of his being is infinite supply. This wasn't just a semantic shift, it was a fundamental transformation in consciousness. Robert began a revolutionary daily practice. Every morning, before looking at numbers or emails or the mounting bills, he would sit quietly and recognize, I am is the abundance of God. I am is infinite resource. I am is divine intelligence expressing. Notice he wasn't asking for these qualities. He was recognizing them as the truth of his being. The transformation wasn't instantaneous. It took 4 months, not 4 days. But gradually ideas began appearing in his awareness that had been invisible before. Connections opened, opportunities presented themselves that he couldn't have manufactured through strategic planning. His business didn't just survive, it transformed into something more aligned with his true purpose. The behind-the-scenes truth was that the change didn't happen in his circumstances. First, it happened in his consciousness. When he stopped identifying with lack, abundance had space to flow through him naturally. This wasn't positive thinking, it was accurate identification with reality. Joel's approach to helping others was equally revolutionary. A mother came to him devastated about her son's addiction. She'd tried everything: intervention, therapy, tough love, enabling. Nothing worked. Her son kept using, kept disappearing, kept breaking her heart. She was exhausted, guilt-ridden, desperate for someone to fix her child. Joel gave her guidance that initially shocked her. Stop praying for your son to change. Stop seeing him as an addict. Stop identifying him with his condition. Instead, recognize the truth. Your son's real identity is I am the presence of God, and that presence cannot be addicted. That presence is whole, free, and perfect right now. See only that truth, regardless of what appears. For 6 months, she practiced this radical approach. Some days, her son seemed worse, but she held firmly to the truth of his being, not the appearance of his behavior. She stopped mothering the addiction and started recognizing the Christ. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, something shifted in him. He entered treatment on his own initiative and stayed. Years later, he remains free, not because she changed him, but because she stopped empowering the false identity. This revelation demolishes our conventional approach to helping others. We think we need to fix people, change them, or heal their problems. But Joel discovered that true healing comes when we stop reinforcing their false identity and instead recognize what they truly are. This isn't passive acceptance of destructive behavior. It's active recognition of a deeper truth that lies beneath appearance. If you've ever experienced the frustration of trying to change someone only to find them resisting more strongly, type in the comments, "Recognition trumps correction." Let's examine how to practically apply this understanding in your daily life through specific practices. Now, I want to go even deeper into how we actually embody this transformative understanding in our daily lives. Grasping the I am intellectually is important, but it doesn't transform your experience unless you practice it until it becomes your natural state of being. Joel called this vital discipline practicing the presence. This isn't about thinking about God or praying to God. It's about recognizing that the I of your being is God expressing right here, right now, in this very moment. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. You can begin with the smallest moments of your day. When you first wake up, before your mind fills with problems and tasks, recognize I am awake, not as a person waking to face another difficult day, but as infinite consciousness expressing as this particular experience. When you eat, recognize I am sustained by infinite substance. When you work, recognize I am is the intelligence accomplishing this task. The subtle but crucial distinction here is that this isn't affirmation, it's recognition. Affirmations try to make something true that you believe isn't yet true. They come from a mindset of lack, attempting to create what you don't have. Recognition, however, comes from wholeness, acknowledging what has always been present. One struggles, the other rests. One seeks, the other realizes. This distinction makes all the difference in your journey toward freedom. For those inevitable moments when life presents crisis or intense challenge, Joel taught a powerful technique he simply called the pause. When fear grips you, when pain overwhelms you, when circumstances seem impossible, pause everything. Don't react. Don't try to solve. Don't panic. Simply pause and return to the I am. This simple decision interrupts the momentum of false identity and creates space for truth to emerge. In the pause, you ask yourself one question. What is the truth of my being right now? Not what appears, but what is eternally true. And the answer is always the same. I am is the presence of God, untouched by any condition. I am is whole. I am is supplied. I am is safe. Not because circumstances prove it, but because this is the unchangeable nature of infinite being expressing as you. A woman used this technique during a medical emergency. Her doctor found a suspicious mass and scheduled immediate surgery. Terror consumed her, but she remembered a pause. Every time fear arose, she stopped. She didn't deny the situation or fight the fear. She simply returned to truth. I am is perfect life. I am cannot be threatened. By the time of her pre-surgery scan, the mass had completely vanished. The power of the pause isn't in escaping reality, it's in returning to a deeper reality beneath appearances. It's not positive thinking, it's accurate identification. When we pause the automatic reactions of the human mind and return to the I am, we create space for infinite intelligence to express in ways our limited thinking could never devise. If you've experienced a moment where pausing and stepping back from a problem actually revealed the solution, share in the comments. The pause revealed the path. Let's explore why this approach sometimes meets resistance and how to navigate the challenges that arise when living from I am consciousness. Living from I am consciousness might sound simple in theory, but the practical journey comes with profound challenges that few spiritual teachers openly discuss. Let me take you behind the scenes of what really happens when you begin this transformation. The first hurdle you'll likely encounter is when nothing seems to change. You practice, you recognize, you identify as I am, and yet your circumstances remain exactly the same. The illness continues, the financial lack persists, the relationship problem doesn't dissolve. In these moments your mind screams, "This doesn't work, you're fooling yourself. You need to take action, do something to fix it the old way, through human effort and struggle." Joel's answer to this challenge was simple but not easy. Spiritual realization works in consciousness first, not in conditions. Sometimes the inner shift happens quickly and outer change follows immediately. Other times, the inner work takes weeks or months of consistent practice before you see any evidence in the physical world. Your task isn't to make things happen. Your task is to know the truth and remain faithful to it, regardless of appearances. This requires a revolutionary mindset that measures progress by your inner peace, not by outer conditions. When you can remain calm in the midst of seeming chaos, that's evidence your consciousness is truly shifting. Another significant challenge emerges when others react negatively to your transformation. When you start living from I am consciousness, you become different. You stop complaining. You stop participating in fear-based conversations. You stop agreeing that circumstances are terrible and hopeless. Some people will think you're in denial. Others will assume you've joined some strange cult. Some will actively try to pull you back into agreement with limitation. A man in Joel's classes lost several close friends when he stopped engaging in their constant complaints about money, health, and politics. They thought he didn't care. They accused him of being cold, disconnected, superior. But he wasn't judging them. He simply couldn't participate in claiming lack and limitation as truth anymore. He had to choose between the comfort of agreement and the integrity of consciousness. Perhaps the most insidious challenge is impatience. We want transformation now. We want healing today. We want abundance this week. But consciousness unfolds at its own pace. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. The invisible work happens first. Roots go deep before the shoot appears above ground. Your consistent practice is the root work. Trust that something is happening even when you see no evidence. When you can navigate these challenges and continue practicing, something remarkable begins to unfold. Living as I am is no longer something you do during meditation or when problems arise. It becomes your constant state. You wake as I am, you walk as I am, you work as I am, you love as I am, you rest as I am. Every experience becomes the infinite expressing in finite form. This doesn't mean you suddenly become perfect in behavior. You'll still make mistakes, still have preferences, still experience the full range of human emotions. But underneath it all, you know what you are. Like a wave that still looks and moves like a wave, but never forgets it's the ocean. You live as a unique expression that knows itself as the infinite presence. If you've experienced moments where you've caught a glimpse of this state of being, where you felt completely at peace with who you are beneath all appearances, write in the comments, "I recognize my true nature." Let's explore how this understanding transforms our relationships with others in profound ways. As we've explored these profound teachings together, I hope you've glimpsed the revolutionary power that comes when you stop seeking and allow the I am to speak through you. This understanding isn't just another spiritual concept, it's the living truth at the core of your being, waiting to be recognized and expressed through every dimension of your life. What Joel Goldsmith discovered through decades of practice and healing work was that the I am isn't something to achieve or become. It's who you already are beneath all appearances. When you stop identifying with conditions and recognize your true nature as the infinite expressing, transformation happens naturally, not through struggle or effort, but through recognition and rest in what has always been true. If this message resonates with your soul, if you sense there's something here beyond intellectual understanding, I invite you to become part of our community of spiritual seekers. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, as we continue exploring these timeless teachings that transform consciousness from the inside out. If these teachings have touched something deep within you today, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment with the words, "I am awakening," to connect with others on this same journey of recognition. And if you found value in today's exploration, gently tap that like button as a way of saying yes to your own unfolding awareness of who you truly are. The journey of recognizing the I am continues in our next video, where we'll explore how this consciousness transforms relationships in ways you might never have imagined. Click right here to continue this discovery with me. The infinite is waiting to be recognized as you.